The Ripple vs. SEC case will likely go down as the most important cryptocurrency case in history, and we are right around the corner from the 4-year-long battle finally wrapping up. In this video, I want to go over everything you need to know in terms of timelines. We have actually seen over the past week multiple high-profile attorneys actually commenting on whether or not this thing is going to go to appeal, when we are expecting the final decision to come in, what is going on right now with the current motions. In this video, I want to break all of that down for you, so at the end of this video, you know exactly where we stand right now and when this thing is finally going to be over. Like always, your support means so much to this channel. Thank you to everyone who takes the time to like these videos and subscribe. These two things really do help me out so much. Also, if you ever need a place to buy some XRP, make sure to check out my favorite exchange Uphold down in the description of this video. With that said, let's jump right into it, and I hope you guys enjoy the content. So I want to start this video off and just quickly go over 2 new filings to the case, because these are getting a lot of attention right now and could be the final filings we see in the Ripple SEC case, which is crazy. But what we're seeing right now is essentially Ripple filing documentation to Judge Torres showing that the judge in the Binance case agreed with her decision. What Ripple is trying to show Judge Torres is that her ruling that XRP itself was not a security and that Ripple was able to sell XRP in various ways that did not constitute an investment contract is something that is resonating with other courts. This is so important to understand because when Judge Torres, the judge in the Ripple SEC case, first took a stand against the SEC, she was really the first judge in the entire United States judicial system to take a stand against the SEC. Almost every single judge we had seen prior essentially sided with the SEC no matter what was going on in the case. It just seemed like most of the judges in the United States didn't understand crypto, and they were saying, okay, well, if the SEC thinks this is an issue, I think it's an issue too. Mostly because I, as a judge who's never looked at this stuff, just doesn't understand this to the degree that's required in order to make a nuanced decision. Judge Torres was the first judge to step out of line on this thinking, and she hammered the SEC hard, not only saying that the SEC was acting hypocritical, but specifically making a point in the case to designate XRP as not a security. Because of this, a lot of people came out who are anti-Ripple and XRP and said, hey, this is just a one-off ruling. No one is going to agree with Judge Torres. She pretty much just made this stuff up, and we are going to see other courts go against Judge Torres's ruling. Now, this was a risk for us XRP holders. If every single judge in the United States started disagreeing with Judge Torres, that would not be something that was good for setting precedent as XRP not being a security for the future of how the SEC regulates these assets. But what we are seeing is actually completely different. In the Binance case, the judge specifically said that she thinks Judge Torres got it right, and she believes, just like Judge Torres said, the tokens themselves would not be securities. So Ripple filed this to Judge Torres to say, hey, look, other judges are agreeing with you. You got this right. You are creating precedent that makes sense to other legal scholars out there. So guys, the SEC actually came back in response to this, and that's the motion we got earlier today. And just to put it lightly, it doesn't seem like they left a very good impression. When Jeremy Hogan read the SEC's response to Ripple's motion, he said, this is the type of avoidance pleading that drives me crazy. Instead of addressing why it disagrees, it just says, we disagree, without saying why, and then changes the subject. At least dream up some argument. This is literally what you learn to do in law school. So right here, Jeremy Hogan is once again not impressed with the SEC's motion. The SEC fails to address the merits. They have done this throughout the entire Ripple SEC case. Ripple will hit hard with facts. The SEC tries to change the argument or try to change the subject. And this is why it's so important that we got Judge Torres, because Judge Torres won't fall for the SEC's games here. She is sticking to the facts of what is going on at the core of the case. And she is going to understand Ripple's argument of showing that judges around the world are agreeing with her decision that the token is not the security. So overall, I think this is going to go down as another big win for Ripple in showing Judge Torres, hey, you don't need to be worried about taking a stand against the SEC. You don't need to be worried with siding with Ripple rather than a government agency. Because in almost every single case we see playing out between a private cryptocurrency company and the SEC, we are finding out that the SEC is wrong on the law in all these cases. Judges are figuring out that the SEC brought these cases more to expand their own jurisdiction than actually trying to apply the law to the situation at hand. this being made clear to Judge Torres is absolutely critical, and the SEC dodging this issue, the SEC trying to change the subject and just saying we disagree but not explaining why, as Jeremy Hogan says right here, I don't think that's going to go over well with Judge Torres. So moving forward, like I said, this might be the last filing we see in this case. Outside of another major decision coming up in the Ripple SEC case, I have a good feeling we actually might be done here. So that leaves us with the question, if this really was the last filing in the Ripple SEC case, then when is this case actually going to be over? And Jeremy Hogan actually weighed in on this. He said July would be early, August would be expected, and September would be tardy. Now, guys, Jeremy Hogan is not the only one putting out this timeline. I have seen two other attorneys in the XRP community also confirm this timeline. So it seems like we are right around the corner from this 4-year-long case finally being over. And we are finally going to have clarity that 1, XRP is not a security, but 2, clarity on how Ripple can sell XRP in the future and continue running their business of using XRP to move money all around the world. They are finally going to have a guideline on how to do this in a way that avoids any jurisdiction from the SEC. Now, the other thing Ripple's going to have to do is pay a fine, get a slap on the wrist to move on. I think Ripple's going to be perfectly fine doing that, and I think Ripple's fine is likely going to be less than $100 billion. Remember, the SEC asked for $2 billion, so the SEC is taking a colossal loss here. But the most important thing I want to talk about is whether or not the SEC is going to appeal. Because in the same exact way, a lot of the anti-Ripple and SEC people were coming out and saying that, oh, no other judges are going to agree with Judge Torres. Judge Torres had a one-off ruling. No one's going to follow this precedent. A lot of these same people were saying, as soon as this case is over, the SEC is going to appeal. Guys, I predict those people are going to be wrong once again. And I think they're going to be wrong because this is one of the SEC's weakest cases they have going on right now. They have much stronger cases. They have cases against Coinbase with on-platform staking that are much, much stronger than the token itself being the security. The big issue the SEC has right now is Congress is literally destroying the token is the security argument right in front of their eyes. And that was their main argument in the Ripple case. The XRP token is the security. Congress right now is passing legislation saying the token is not the security. So this case for the SEC has just turned into a disaster. There are no facts in this case that really support a valid claim that there was some kind of securities transaction here. And the one part they won on is going to be considered a win for the SEC, those institutional sales. But everything else seems like a long shot and just not the SEC's best play. Why would the SEC bring their worst case to the Second Circuit? Why would the SEC continue putting their worst case forward? It doesn't make any sense, especially when they have other cases like the Coinbase case in a much better position. The SEC has a good argument on staking. Do I think they're going to win? Who knows? But it is much better than the argument that the token is the security. So I actually predict the SEC is not going to appeal. And the same exact people who are anti-Ripple and anti-XRP, who have had all the facts wrong on this case the entire time, the people who are saying that the SEC is going to win, and then those same exact people saying that Judge Torres' ruling was wrong, and then those same exact people saying there was going to be an instant appeal and have been wrong the entire time, I think they're going to continue to be wrong, and the people who have been right the entire time, like Jeremy Hogan, who don't think that the SEC is going to appeal this case, I think they're going to continue to be right. I have a feeling right now it's time for the SEC to admit that it's easier to go after bad companies breaking the law, or at least go after things that obviously look like securities, rather than trying to expand their jurisdiction and beat a dead horse on issues like the token itself being the security. Guys, I think we are in a perfect position for this case to end at the end of the summer, at worst early fall, and ultimately Ripple to be in a position where XRP is the most compliant cryptocurrency out there, and for them to have clarity on how to use XRP going forward. Guys, this case likely held back a lot of institutions from working with Ripple, but we are at the end of it. Things are going to change in a big way when the large institutions in the United States no longer have to worry about this case coming back to bite them. We know Ripple had massive partnerships before the case got launched. A lot of these partnerships were forced to be backed off of, but I think they're going to come back in a really big way, especially as Ripple emerges from the other side of this and the rest of the industry starts their fight against the SEC, something that we will have a 4-year head start on. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for coming. I hope you enjoyed this update. If you did, make sure to like and subscribe. It really does mean so much. And for now, Mickle out.